Welcome to the Good Girl Syndrome show. Today, I have an episode that I think you'll find very useful because I am going to talk about how to make a big decision, like, for example, how to choose your career or how to change a career, when you feel like making that choice will require you to let go of a part of yourself, right? So you're afraid of making a decision or taking that bold action of going in one direction because you're afraid that it's not the right one, but also you're afraid of missing out, right? FOMO, you're afraid of missing out on all the other sides of you that will not be able to fully shine or fully be developed in that direction that you're taking. So if you're interested in that, if you're facing a big decision yourself and you need a little bit of help, this episode is for you. If you do not know me, my name is Julie Vander Meulen. I'm an empowerment coach for high achieving women now, but I used to be a researcher in political science before. And now I have dedicated my life's work to helping other women who identify as good girls to let go of everything that's holding them back, notably themselves and their sensation that they should be doing, right? They should be doing this, they should be doing that, they should be further ahead. And instead of listening to that voice inside of them, to help them listen to what it is that they actually want, what it is that they actually need, right? Those sort of things. So if you're interested in that, I invite you to subscribe to my channel and go in the description box and see all of the other free stuff that I have available for you. I have a free quiz for you to understand the type of good girl that you are. I have a free newsletter that comes out every Sunday that is packed with exercises, self-help type of exercises on how to unbecome a good girl. You can follow me on social media. You can subscribe here. There's many different things. Go check out in the description box below. I think we should go. So today is an episode where someone in my audience has actually asked me a question. So the lovely lady who asked me a question is Lucie. She's actually from Belgium. Hi, Lucie. She's 25. So Lucie, you're one of the youngest person in my audience. I'm glad that you're here. And Lucie asked me a question around her having quite a bit of potential and not knowing how to make a decision about what's the right career for her, right? So I'm going to read you what Lucie told me, and then I'm going to go into the coaching session. So here's what Lucie told me. I feel embarrassed even writing to you. I've always been good at school. I have 3 master's degrees. I've done internships in different sectors, and I genuinely enjoyed all of them. People tell me to just follow my passion, but I have so many. I can relate, that's why I'm laughing. Or they say choose what you're best at, but I'm good at many things. So how do I choose? I feel guilty for even having this problem. I'm at a point where I need to choose a direction, and the idea of narrowing myself down feels suffocating. Sometimes I think entrepreneurship might be the only way because then I don't have to choose one version of myself. But it's not like I have a plan or a business idea. So my question is, I guess, how do I choose without feeling like I'm killing other beautiful testimonial and beautiful question, my friend. I'm laughing and smiling as I read it because there's many things that I can relate to from a version of myself from the past. Perhaps many other people who are watching this can relate to Lucie at this phase of her life, and perhaps you have something similar, right, at a later stage in your life. But yeah, the first thing that strikes me, Lucie, is the language you're using, my friend. It's quite an intense type of language that you're using, kind of a life for death sentence in all of this. I'm laughing, but I know that this is not simple. If you put this, if you took the time to write to me, even though you said you're embarrassed, and if you're describing the situation in that language, it means it's very intense to you, which I completely understand. And there was a point in my life where I was also faced with decisions like that, and it also felt like life or death. So I completely relate to what you're saying. I am just laughing because I have gone through this before, and now the sensation to me of that time was I understand that there's a much simpler way at looking at things. And so why I'm talking about your language is, in coaching and in many things, we see that how you talk about something tells me a lot about your inner world, what is going on inside of you for that specific situation, and also probably how your tendency at this stage where you are right now, how you tend to see things in this specific phase of your life. So push back if I'm wrong, Lucie. That's up to you. I don't know what's going on inside of you. So up to you to see what's true for you or not. But I would imagine just from reading this that you are feeling quite intense and quite stressed and quite anxious, some version of that, for that decision, but that in general you take things to heart, right? You're someone who takes things to heart. And probably making decisions in general for you, like big decisions, is not the easiest because probably you see things in this specific light. So the first thing that I would say is when something is very highly emotionally charged, and I know it sounds simplistic and you're probably going to resent me for saying that, but the first thing that I would do is really pause and take a deep breath. In fact, I would say pause the video if you're watching this, Lucie, or anyone else, and you're feeling really, really stressed. First thing to do is change that because you're like all the air is trapped in your body. We need to breathe and move things out. You will see that just taking like really deep breath, like I'm going to do one. So really in and then really out, like make a sound, make something ridiculous, but really let it out. Do this 3 times, 5 times, 10 times, however many you need until you can feel a sense of relief. Try it and you'll see you will get a sense of relief. So I would say for now, for this, what we're talking about now, but in general, Lucie, keep that in mind. If you're someone who, in this phase of your life, you're struggling with making big decisions and it gets you really stressed out and you get in your head, get out of your head, get back in your body. Go back to breathing, right? Simple things that change your physiology, your body, right? Simple things that you see in meditation, right? I don't know if you're a meditator or not. Meditation is a good way to go through these different things. There's also tapping. Don't know if you've seen these types of things. Look it up if you're not familiar with these. They can help you as well. But the simplest way to go, if you're not interested in any of that and you need a quick and easy solution, is to just breathe. I take 3 deep breaths, the types that I just showed you, and I really I moan when I exhale, and it really, really helps me out because then I'm back, I'm more peaceful. I remember that I'm in control of what is happening inside of me, right? So I would say take back control of what is going on in your mind, get back into your body is the first step that I would recommend to you. So the second reason why I'm telling you to breathe is because being in your mind and being anxious is very hard to make any decision when you're anxious, but specifically, it's very hard to make a good decision, a good sustainable decision when you're in a state of panic or anxiety and so on and so forth, because you're afraid. You're in fear in that moment. And when you're in fear, correct me if I'm wrong, see if it's true in your own life, but when you're in a state of fear, the types of thoughts that you have, the specific lens that you have for your life and for everything is dark. It's like all you see is what could go wrong. All you see is what you will lack, right? You have a sort of scarcity mindset if you're familiar with that when you're in fear. So you start seeing everything that should happen, but that doesn't happen, everything that could happen, like all the worst scenarios, all of these things happen when in your mind you're in a state of fear. So the first thing we want to do if we want to make a good decision, a sustainable decision, or any decision at all, and not stay stuck in our minds and in loops that serve no one, not you, but not the rest of the world around you either, is go back to breathing, go back to regulating your emotions, go back to that, right? Because you will not be able to make a good decision if you are in a frantic state. You will not be able to do that. So this is my first advice to you in this specific situation, but in general, if that is something that you live with, I would say the best way to make a good decision is to make a decision when you are in what we call in the Tony Robbins world, a beautiful state, meaning a state of being, a way of being in the moment where you feel as relaxed as you can be, when you feel rather optimistic. You don't have to be hyper or super excited or anything like that, but where you feel aligned, as we say, where you feel like life is good, you're doing good, you feel pretty much in control of what's going on inside of you. I think that's a good state to be making decisions from, and not a frantic state. It's good for when you want to survive. So if you're in the jungle and there's, a big animal coming at you and, with some big teeth and some big legs and run super fast, this is the best moment to be in this fear state and be looking at all the scenarios really quickly in your mind and making a decision from there. In any other scenario in our lives, usually that's not what we need. We need to regulate, to feel better, to feel softer inside, to feel back in control of our emotions. And from there, you will be able to make a better decision. So now, concretely in what you were telling me, I can see that there's a lot of fear of missing out, like I was just saying, right? Making that choice feels really hard to you. And I wrote, I'm looking down because I have my notes here of what I was thinking could be going on in your mind. Up to you to see, Lucie, or anyone else watching, if this relates to what's going on for you right now. So the first thing that I noticed in what you were afraid of is, so you're someone with a lot of potential from what I can see and from what you're describing, which is amazing. 3 master's degrees, by the way. Good job. Really good job. Very impressive. And you are afraid that because you have a lot of potential, right? You're a multi-potential type of person, that any career that you will choose, any choice that you will make will mean you needing to let go of other parts of yourself. I can completely relate to that. If you're interested in that, by the way, I will be releasing here on Sunday um the my version of what I'm filming now. So I'll tell you a little bit more about my story and how I have 4 master's degrees, by the way. So if you know, I kind of know what it feels like to have a lot of interests and to have a capacity to do a lot of things at the same time. I have done a lot of things in my life and I have many different hats. So if you're interested in seeing how I went from being really, really afraid of that part of me and not knowing how to behave in the world to how I feel not perfect, right? I'm not perfect at it, but 80% of the time, 90% of the time, I feel really good in my own skin. And I don't even think about those things, Lucie, if you can imagine. Like, these used to be the thoughts that you're describing now, used to be everything in my own inner world. And nowadays, it doesn't even cross my mind most of the time. I'm not thinking about, oh, what am I going to lose of myself? Like, all these things have disappeared with time and experience and good choices that I made. So if you're interested in that, Lucie, more of a my personal story and how I dealt with it, pause this, go check out the next episode that will come out on Sunday, and I think you'll find it useful. So going back to you, I think a misconception in what you're doing here, and it's understandable why you're feeling this way, is most probably if you have a lot of potential and many different interests, and you've been doing 3 master's degrees, I would imagine that most people meet you and your potential with 2 different types of ways. One will probably be some form of admiration, inspiration. They're inspired by what you were able to do. They think it's phenomenal. Some people can be proud of you, right? If they're close to you. Some people can feel intimidated by you, like all these different dynamics that are related to it being amazing that you have so much potential and you're able to do so many different things. And on the flip side of that, I think there's also a different reaction, but that is just as strong, if not stronger at times. At least in my life, it's been stronger at times, which is it's difficult to put you in a box, right? In a society that is designed neat little boxes of like you will do these studies and then you will study this to become this, right? And your career will be that, and that's kind of the expectation of the system we live in, the school system, the work system, but also, your family, right? I don't know how you've not mentioned how your family feels about all this, so I don't know, perhaps they're very supportive and I really hope they are for you. But I find that a lot of times it's difficult for people around us to apprehend us and to understand who we are fully, but also to, like, even if they can understand us for the most part and they think it's cool to be us, they just don't know how someone like you or someone like me or someone like us can then fit into the boxes. And so they can be afraid for us and they can be like, well, at some point you'll need to choose, the box is this or that, so you'll need to choose. And so the temptation can be to, if you have no other role models around you who are like that, who are like you, is that you will do what I did, which is you will very, very, you know, you'll be very, very dedicated to fitting into a box that is not meant for you. And I think in what you're saying here, there's something that I find extremely, extremely smart and intelligent in what you're doing, which is that you're the step before that. You're like, hey, wait, I feel like society or like the timing of my life right now is telling me I need to choose the one thing that I need to do when I've just done 3 master's degrees and that's how I avoided making a big decision like that of narrowing myself down. How do I do that? How do I know if if I make the right choice, right? And I will tell you something that I didn't know back then and I wish I did. And I hope that it's useful for you. The first thing that I would say is I think when you're in that frame of mind, what I was just mentioning of the boxes is then what you feel is in front of you is you have, let's go with the boxes metaphor. There's 5 boxes that define you right now, or 10, 15, I don't know. The more the merrier. Let's say you have 5 boxes that define you, and right now you're at a step where you have to choose one career, and you probably feel like one or two or perhaps three, if you're lucky, of these boxes would fit the specific box of the career you want. I don't know in what area you are. For me, one of the boxes that was available to me at the time was being a researcher and a teaching assistant. I felt like that was a box that was kind of broad, where I could be multiple things at the same time, and I was really attracted to that. Afterwards, I became an editor, and I built a big content platform for a digital marketing agency in the US. And so when I was doing that, I also felt like that was a big enough box for me to be multiple things at the same time. And so that was attractive to me. So perhaps that's the first step that you could have. But what I would say is before you go ahead and choose a career, how can I say that? Before you go ahead and focus on what is the career, you know, that can fit all your different boxes, I would say be very clear. I think what you're describing is an identity issue, basically, Lucie. And I think with every identity issue, the real issue, besides the fact that you might feel like you don't belong on the outside, is that if you don't feel like you don't belong on the outside, I'm not saying it's your fault at all, but I am saying that it is always possible for you to belong to you, for you to feel like, you know what, I'm okay with everything that I am. And I think that's cool. And I think I'm going to create my own box or let go of all boxes. I don't want that. And so I think that in what you're describing that you're facing is an identity type of crisis or issue. And the question of the identity is, instead of like trying to fit into other people's boxes, which you already know in advance you will not be good at, or you will not feel fulfilled at letting go of a part of yourself, I think it would be really cool for you to take a minute and really try to understand, like perhaps that's my first homework to you. If we were in a coaching session, that's what I would tell you. I playfully always give homework to the people that I coach, just so that they can continue their own growth besides the coaching sessions. I would say homework number one, Lucie, is would you mind taking, I don't know, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, however much you want to spend on that, and really define yourself. Who are you? What are the different sides of you? Who are your friends saying that you are? Who do you feel that you are? Who do you feel like people see? Like, what do people see about you that you think is true? And then what do you think other people see in you that is actually not true for you? Who do you feel you are that other people cannot see? You know, these types of questions. You can even use AI, use ChatGPT, use whatever AI fits you if you're comfortable with that. I imagine with your age, you probably are. And ask it to give you 10 prompts, 10 questions for you for a self-discovery session, for you to understand yourself even better. And so I think that you being able to define that very clearly for yourself, like, who am I and what's truly important to me? I think in that you will not only understand who you are, but you will understand what are the key things that you need to follow, that you need to have in your life, the key things that will make you fulfilled. And I think that's what you're really looking for. You're not looking to fit in a specific place or to find a perfect career that will fit all of you. But I think it's really to be so aware of who you really are and what's really important to you that when you make a decision, it doesn't feel like cutting yourself off. It feels like you stepping more into who you really are. And so that both you feel fulfilled in the space, but also that you feel you have a lot to give when you go in that space. Because you know you have this and this and this, all these different angles to you that are very beneficial to the company or the work or whatever it is, or the volunteer work that you're going to go and do. I don't know if that makes sense. So I would say go back inward instead of looking outward and thinking, what's the box that will fit me best? I would say go back inward and really be clear on who you really are and what you really want and what do you want your life to be about. And then you look at what are the boxes out there that could potentially fit me, right? If this is what you want to do. The second thing that I would say in choosing a career, just like choosing anything else actually, is a lot of times we make decisions with this here right? What's in between my fingers here, which is your head, your mind. And I think it's a good place to start. But I think your mind on its own will make decisions that are rational and that make sense. Not necessarily decisions that feel good to you, not necessarily decisions of what you want or what you need or what will be sustainable over the long run, right? So I think that some of the questions to ask yourself, and I know you said people tell you follow your passion and it bothers you, but I would say ask yourself, when you project yourself in the future, what feels like joy? Not necessarily a career, just if you envision what a future that brings you joy feels like, what it is like, what it looks like, what comes up for you, right? What does joy trigger in you? What kind of vision do you see, not just for yourself, but for your life? And so from that space, and it can be, I mentioned joy, but it can be other things. I tend to say, I love being inspired. It's a big word for me. I love feeling inspired everywhere I go, the people that I talk to, how I want to feel inside, how I feel when I'm in nature. Inspiration is a big, big thing for me. Might not be for you, but it is for me. So choose things, like figure out what it is, what types of emotions, what types of sensations are important to you. Do you like feeling proud? It's very important for me too. Do you just want to feel good? Do you want to feel like you can do this for the next 5 years? How do you want to feel? And then from there, I think you will go into the imagination part of your brain rather than the rational thing. And you can rationalize afterwards, right? I'm just asking for the sake of this exercise for a little bit to open up the possibilities of what's out there. And before you see even what's out there, is like, what's inside of you? What would you like to do? And what if, like, anything was possible, what would you like? What would your life look like, basically? And I think that's a really, really worthy exercise for you to understand yourself better, what you want better, but also for you to then look for things. You will look for things differently. You will look for a career in a very different way then, because you will be looking for things that bring you joy, that make you feel good, that make you feel inspired, that make you feel proud. I just took my own words, right? But that's kind of what I would recommend you do. And so the idea behind that is basically to notice, instead of like going in a push mode of I need to find this career and it's time. I can't remember where you said it, but you said a version of it's time for me to make a decision now, so I need to choose something and I can't seem to make a decision. I would say that's good, because at some point you will need some push factor as well to actually make a decision and to make a commitment and to move forward. But I would say before you do that, make sure that there's also some pull in what you're choosing for your life. Because if you're only going in a push factor, at the end of that, it's going to take a few months, it's going to take a few years, I don't know, a few weeks, I don't know how much time it's going to take for you. At some point, you will be burnt out because you will be pushing towards something that doesn't feel good and it's not sustainable. So I would say you have the push factor, which is great, means you can be determined, you can be persistent. I mean, you've done 3 master's degrees, right? So it means something in terms of what you're capable of doing and doing unfun things. I imagine some parts of it were fun, but some part of it, I'm sure, were hard work as well. And so I have no doubt at what you're capable of doing in a push type of way. But I would invite you to wonder what's pulling you forward. If you don't have to push, what do you want to do when you don't have to push? When it's just natural? Do you want to dance? Do you want to, I don't know, it can be silly. It can just be, I want to be close to nature. It can be, I don't know what it is for you. And it can sound very silly and like it makes no sense compared to the rest of things. Like, this should not be taken into account in how you will choose your future career or your future job, but you'd be surprised what comes up. And you'd be surprised, you putting all of that on paper and having that in your field or in your mind, I think helps you make a better decision afterwards, because it will be a very conscious decision that you will make, and not a decision out of fear. It will be a decision made out of self-awareness and self-knowledge and basically self-love as well, because you will do that to feel good, not just because you have to fit in a box. I don't know if you can see the difference here. And then the third thing that I was going to say is, if you want to go one step forward, which I would advise you to do if you find this fun, if you found the exercise that I gave you to be fun, which by the way is intentional, because in what you were doing here, the like the version of you who wrote to me was in such big fear and such big stress that there was no fun in this process, right? It's just fear and wondering if I'm making the decision. It's like, so much. I'm anxious just thinking about it. So this is why I'm flipping it and I'm making you have fun, like reconnect to fun and reconnect to joy as you make this decision, right? Because other things will come up, but also you will feel so much better. The other thing that I would recommend you do if you're open to it is not just envision, like really understand who you are, which was homework number one, not just envision when you feel like joy, like what do you want to do, how would you spend your life and all of that, which I think is valuable too. But the third step I would say is try to envision who do you want to become. So as a person, not just your life, but you as a person. I don't know how much of a visionary you are in the sense of I'm not casting a judgment here. I mean by that how much you can project yourself towards the future. I'm, for example, someone who can project herself 30 years from now. It's very easy for me to do, but I think most people, that can be very scary to look at. Like very, very long term projections are can be very scary for people. So I don't know what's, you know, a long term vision for you, but the longest that you can do, if it's a year, it's good too. But like the longest projection that you can have of who you would like to be in the future, when you're feeling good and you're inspired. I'm taking back my words, put your words instead of that, right? And you being all of you, all the beautiful person that you've discovered when you were doing this process. If this version of you continues to expand and has a beautiful career or business, up to you to choose, right? Who do you become? What do you like about her? What's specific about her? What's unique? Why do you feel like her life will have been worth living? Why do you feel like you want to be like her? What does she have? What are her traits? What are her thoughts? How does she act? You know, like really, really envision what that could look like for you. Because then, why I'm telling you to do that is because then if you focus on that, if you understand then who you want to be, then you will notice that it was never about you finding a career. It's about you finding a journey worth pursuing, right? For you. And also knowing that oftentimes when you choose a path, it turns out differently from what you had expected. And both in terms of between what you dreamt it would be or feared it would be and what it really is, it's different. But also from the linear path that we oftentimes think we're going to get, usually that's not what we get. Our path goes like this and with bumps and, you know, all sorts of things that you could not have foreseen, both outside but also inside, right? You think you're going to feel so great and then you don't. Or sometimes you're in a phase where nothing is working and all of a sudden everything clicks. Like anything can happen in this life. And I think that you being able to reconnect with who you really are and what's really important to you and who you want to be, those three things, will reconnect you to your path in life instead of just a box to fit in for a career because you need to make a decision. It's very different. I don't know about you, but I can really feel it when I make the difference, and I'm being funny as well. So I'm making all sorts of, you know, different voices and stuff like that to exaggerate it. But even if I don't do this in a playful way and I just think about it, it makes a huge difference for me. Whether I'm choosing a path where all of me can show up and then I'm envisioning what that could look like, or when I feel like, oh my goodness, I need to choose between the different parts of me, so I need to kill. I think you actually said kill. Yeah, you said kill. You said that you're afraid of killing parts of yourself. We don't want you to kill any part of yourself. I don't want that. I don't know what society thinks, but I know you don't want that, and I'm sure people who really love you don't want you to do that either. So don't do it. Don't do it. Take all of you, discover who you really are, envision what is possible for you, and bring all of you to the table. Because the more of you bring to the table, the better everyone is around you. Even if, and that's a big thing, even if people are sometimes uncomfortable with how great your potential is or how much you bring to the table, doesn't matter. Keep the faith. Go to places where your potential is cherished, where people really love that about you and they admire you, right? Perhaps that's the last thing that I want to leave you with is don't just follow the joy of what you want, but also follow the joy of like, where are you appreciated? Because I think that makes a big difference as well in choosing a career and choosing the people who surround you, environments to be in, is choosing spaces where who you are all of you is not a flaw, where people see all of you as a great gift. And I'm sure you will find people who don't feel that way about you. I certainly do. And that's okay, because I know that, you know, I can be specific in many ways, but the people who are meant for me, they love that about me, you know? They love that about me. And I'm not just talking about, the people closest to me. I'm also talking about my clients. I'm talking about people in my audience, right? People love me for me. And this is what we want, right? We want to be loved for who we are and all of who we are. And the last thing we want to do, Lucie or anyone else, is the last thing we want to do is we don't want to disconnect from ourselves to be able to fit in, whether it's for a career or for anything else. I think that's the last thing that I want to tell you, my friend. So I hope that was useful for you, Lucie, or anyone else. I'm sure you will find your path. You're brilliant. From what you've told me, there's no reason why you can't find your path. Just stop looking at the outside and look more in the inside again and regulate those emotions, right? You have a lot of emotions. That's a beautiful thing, but regulate them so that you make decisions from a place of joy and inspiration rather than from fear and like what could happen and you needing to kill any part of yourself, right? We don't want any of that vocabulary. Not judging it. You shouldn't be judging it either. I'm just saying when you see that you're going back to this pattern of being very dramatic and intense inside of you, you know it's time to regulate yourself. Go back to feeling good and from there make a decision. In any case, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was useful for you. I hope it was entertaining as well. Like I said, on Sunday, I'm going to release an episode where I talk about how I dealt with that in my own life. So if you're interested in that, go watch that. And I think that's it. Sending you lots of love. Enjoy your day, enjoy your night, and I will see you next time. Bye, my friend.